demands, not on my watch! Execute order for Valhalla. The law demands, not on my watch!
Welcome to the Purge, everybody. How you doing? Nice to see you. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Nice to have you with us today. I'm Kane B. I'm your host today. If you're new to the Purge, I'm going to be running today solo, no guests. We're going to try to run down all of our takes on everything that I know it's not as palatable as saying, oh, Dylan did it or whatever, that you get at other channels. But, you know, I realized that last night that YouTube is doing me a favor by keeping our channel small. Because right now I'm looking at the chat and I see people that realize that there are people that are under pressure to provide opinions, and to that you see them collecting in a coagulating in a group, and it's because I don't know how to put this. Anyway, I know that the people here realize that we are completely independent thinking, and I'm trying to. I have it all written down somewhere here. Hold on. And I apologize for being really. It's all because of this little thing right here. I was cleaning up, and I came across. Oh, I got an old bud, and I was like, oh, why don't we try? Oh my god, I forgot that it was some kind of super cane that I must have had. So there's that, and I know what you're thinking, and you're right. What is missing from the crime scene? Well, I had a little talk, and I want to apologize to each and every one of you because I've overlooked another creator probably from the beginning of my channel, and that person is Pete Oletarian. And JJ had me down and a little sit down last night, and tore into me about my sass mouth, and that I need to look at what he's talking about, because apparently he doesn't mention it, but from what JJ told me is that Pete actually worked cleaning up the aftermath of the crime scenes. And I watched his videos. I never hear him mention it. And all he says is, I'm not a crime scene investigator, I'm not a detective, but I've been doing true crime for 50 years, 50 years. That's pretty amazing stuff. But what he and Pete both noticed about the crime scene, JJ brought up in Miss Potts chat, and for some reason she didn't address that, and it troubled him. Because he but you know, if you're in somebody's live and they don't necessarily pick up on what you're putting down, it's you know, they're live, they have other things to focus on. But we'll get to that in a second. What's the other thing I had here? Things, stuff. All right, so you have basically some pretty high level stuff happening in the country, and I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. I really do. It's man, it's like, honestly, I guess you'd call it a tormento out there right now. It's just the winds. I thought the roof was going to come off for a minute, and I literally just laid down. I'm gonna lay down for 5 minutes. Boom, boom. I was out. The wind just put me to sleep, I guess. So that was nice. And I appreciate you waiting me out. I did send a message to Suzanne B. Hopefully she will be joining us here shortly. She wanted me to get in touch with her to let her know when I was going to. I guess she predicted that I'd probably be late. I'd planned on getting started. I have a lot to talk about and show you that you may or may not have missed. I'm gonna guess that most people haven't seen it, and most people aren't covering ever what I cover. And yeah, so I'll just say right now, with these crime scene photos, both of them agreed that there's less blood than you would expect. Some people have said like shaving. I've cut myself and gotten blood, or definitely more than you would get with shaving or whatever. How you doing, Salamundo and I guess Amy Conway? Just the only two here. We're down to I know a lot of people are live today. I've kind of lost faith in some of the other creators that I used to buddy up with. I'm starting to see some very strange things. People acting weird. I don't know. I'm still me. I'm just me. I'm here. You and me, nothing fancy. There's something going on, man. But anyway, what you do see is when you die, your muscles relax and you basically release your bowels all over the place. JJ's actually seen it. He told me a story about a guy who was on the Air Force or the Army base. The wife called him in. He had a shotgun and he was thinking about unaliving himself, and it took JJ a half hour, found him, and it was just all over the front of the cab of the car or the truck or whatever it was in. So you have 4 people that were allegedly killed in this house, and in the crime scene you may have enough blood, buckets of blood, whatever. It doesn't seem right, especially after watching Miss Potts today. With the some of the spatter, it seems may have come from what looks like an incendiary explosive device that was, I think it was in Xana's room, and she was pointing out, it looks like, first, a lot of people are saying it was skull or something like that, but it looks like it may have been like some kind of pipe bomb or a plastic container, flask, or maybe like a little tub that it has a circular pattern, and then that is where your cast is coming from with the blood spatter on the wall. Okay, and so you have that look, which is wild, and then that would correspond, oh, Bethany heard this and that, whatever. If you believe anything those two says, at this point, JJ has me convinced that that Bethany just belongs to the streets. He claims he's done every look into it that he could. She's not a student there, and whatever that, for whatever that's worth, she definitely may have lured Kaylee back for whatever reason. Who knows? So, all right, let's keep going. I'm gonna get to all of it today, and I gotta work, so we're gonna keep rolling. So see if you can keep up. All right.
Where I told you about 40,000 of these things that your tax dollars pay for that are tracking your every move and repurposing data collected about you every time that you drive past them. Upon further investigation, it turns out that there are over 80,000 of them, and we got some and we hacked them. You can press a button a few times on the back of these cameras and within a few minutes turn them into your own personal spy device, or malware host, or honeypot that steals people's login credentials, or a cryptocurrency miner, whatever you want, really. Or alternatively, how you can point an antenna at them and decode the video stream using a technique used by the CIA during the Cold War. Or how another researcher found a Google search phrase that had the capabilities of showing you the real-time location of these cameras and police patrol cars. This isn't clickbait or an exaggerated claim with no payoff. Just the other day, weeks before this video will be released, US senators and representatives drafted an official letter to open an investigation that highlights the national security risks associated with our findings. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how they work and even demonstrate them to journalists.
What's up?
And finally, we're going to take a deep data dive into the efficacy, misinformation, and straight up lies surrounding some private surveillance startups, and we're going to use that momentum to push for protocols and legislation that actually makes you safer. Wow, that's a lot for a YouTube video.
How I can never act. Been trying to stack up racks on racks. Boys in the back wearing no blasting on track back, showing them that's on me. Out here getting this beefy one for the devil, better retreat.
The meat and potatoes of this video will be mostly in parody with John Gainsex's white paper, and that's linked in the description below. Many of these vulnerabilities were recently published with the National Vulnerability Database or are in the process of publication. And to prevent the average viewer from getting lost or falling asleep, I'm going to keep many of the formalities and extensive details to a minimum, but if you find yourself wanting more details at any time in this video, just check the description for a whole bunch of links. Welcome to the world of responsible disclosure. And while I'm up here, let me tell you that to the best of my knowledge, any of the cameras or hardware seen in this video were acquired. There are 47 security issues covered, with the vast majority listed in the white paper. In this video, I'm going to be showing you 6 of them. Over the last summer, when doing research for my first video on this topic, I started poking around to see if anyone had done an independent audit of flock safety or related services. This naturally led me to the dark web, where I have access to some semi-private communities dedicated to hacking and open source intelligence. Some of these communities have well-organized marketplaces for breached data, credentials, exploits, and all that stuff. And that is where I found this. Please excuse the poor English translation, but these were law enforcement flock safety accounts for sale with escrow protection by a reputable vendor. And a few days later, the listings were removed in a way that suggested that someone had bought them. Not long after that, I got in touch with a professional security researcher regarding other things on this list, and what do you know? He found something very similar on the dark web.
So in the cyber industry, there are things called access brokers, and some people specialize in government agencies or maybe local law enforcement.
I started digging more to find out where these accounts could have come from. Were they bought or stolen off of a police officer or a flock employee? Or just maybe flock safety had some security vulnerabilities. The most significant and troublesome and mind-boggling vulnerability on this list was discovered nearly a year ago.
Late 2024, I stumbled down a rabbit hole, and then probably a few nights later was messing with the buttons and the dip switch, and then was able to figure out how to get a shell on it. Yeah, so I'm John Gaines. Professionally, I've been in the offensive security field for over a decade.
Obtaining shell on a device means that you can remote control it, exfiltrate data, and escalate privileges, which is exactly what John did. As detailed on John's blog and formerly published paper, John had found a user named Cager on social media who was trying to recreate some of the disclosures. He reported.
Okay, in case you're wondering, the flock camera you may have heard of is the license plate readers, and they're now being bought out by the Axum body cam people, which I believe is already owned by Amazon. And where this is relative is what the thing is, they're throwing it out there, and it's vulnerable. So these people are able to hack into them in seconds and just use them as their own camera. Even the ones that are owned by the government. And here's the kicker. With that, you have, people, that's not as important as the camera itself is connected to these real-time crimes, so they can follow people. And what's happening across the country is officers are being found that they're stalking their ex-girlfriends, they're stalking their wives, whatever it is. One of the cops got fired because he used the camera to monitor his wife, his ex-wife or his wife, and her new boyfriend 330 times. Couple that with the article from Lucy yesterday that she cited, talking about 23andMe. I don't know if anybody watched it, but 23andMe was a Google company, basically the wife of the founder of YouTube, and she had all this money going right into starting that startup, and which is unheard of. She needed like millions of dollars to start it, got it going, and the problem with it was that it was a low margin and actually a losing margin profit company from the beginning. So what happened is they used up their share of the market quickly, because once you do 23andMe, you don't need to do it again. You've got your history of I was Irish, I was Scottish, I was Chinese, and then that's it. And in the beginning, it was a little bit more expensive. Man, it feels like the wind's like literally ripping through her, blowing my air conditioner. I hope you're nice and warm. I'm gonna make another coffee. I literally drank 4 cups of espresso and passed out. Anyway, with 23andMe is they did the $99 history thing, and then they realized that they'd used up their market share, and they're like, well, we have the medical thing. And usually that medical thing is really expensive. All the DNA stuff was expensive before this. They were trying to bring it to the common man. With the medical thing, they were trying to do a service where you could monitor your health. Anyway, when you're losing money as a company, you start to get desperate, right? And so that wasn't working. And so the company went up for sale. Well, they had mined all these people's history, their health histories, and everything like that. When the company went up for sale, all of the personal data went with it, and to whoever the highest bidder is. So you have all this new technology right out of the gate. Everything that they've done seemed like the coolest, hippest idea, and here now it's worked against us to have the companies invade all of our privacy and get it out there. Now, just watch a little bit more of this and we'll keep moving.
That by merely pressing the button on a device in a particular sequence on a flock safety camera, a wireless access point is created.
Hey partner, don't do any of this stuff unless you can legally acquire a flock safety camera. If you do this to one of the 80,000 all over the US of A, you'll be put in the clink.
That's the sound of an American oil.
80,000 of them are across the
Listen
country.
Hello, my name.
And what they're doing is they're each time. What is this? They're adding more technology to it. Now I have another thing that we're going to look at in a minute, where they can listen now to your conversations from anywhere, inside your house, wherever you may be, everything that you're talking about. Okay, I mean, this is just real shit, people, and it's getting crazier and crazier and crazier. Anyway, I keeping you posted on those. Let's keep going.
You probably think turning off your smart TV means it stops listening. But what you don't realize is that these things could still be collecting data even when the screen's black. And that data could be accessed by cops or government agencies without your knowledge or consent. I'm Jeff Hampton, the People's Lawyer, and in this video, I'm breaking down number 1, how smart TVs are being used to track citizens. And number 2, the simple settings you need to change to keep your private life private. So what data can a smart TV even collect in the first place? We all found out the truth in early January 2026. A Texas judge briefly issued a temporary restraining order aimed at stopping Samsung from collecting certain smart TV.
What's up, Lori? What happened? You got nothing for 6 hours? Was your power out, you're saying? Yeah, that's crazy. I know this storm's a lot rougher than we're getting. We're supposed to get snow flurries in the morning. We'll see if that actually happens. That would be unprecedented for sure.
Automated content recognition data from Texans. The order didn't stick, but now we know that automated content recognition data, known as ACR data, is what we should be concerned about. So why would Samsung or Vizio or any other company want to collect this data? To sell advertising, of course. The original sales pitch for ACR was to help recommend what you should watch next. Netflix does it, YouTube does it, and these other companies, they want in on the action. ACR is a recognition system that can fingerprint what is on your screen and sometimes what's playing through your speakers, all to identify the content you are watching. In the Texas case, the state describes ACR as, quote, capturing audio-visual information extremely rapidly to create a content fingerprint and match it to a reference database. And ACR, it doesn't need to record everything you do to understand you. Just knowing what you watched, when you watched it, what you watched it on, and maybe who watched it is enough to make a fingerprint. And once they have your viewing fingerprint, they can then start selling you ads. But it's not just what you watch on your smart TV. The Texas case revealed that ACR captures what's on screen across sources, including devices connected via HDMI, and even things like doorbell or security camera streams, or if you're casting or mirroring your phone or a computer. That matters because it moves the privacy issue from "they know I watched a show" to "they can see whatever appears on my screen." Now here's the scary part. Supposedly, the data can also be collected even when the TV is offline and then uploaded to its source once the TV receives.
Let me ask you a question about all this privacy shit and all. I was thinking about it yesterday. If technology actually stopped 20 years ago, would you mind? Would you care? Are you excited for any kind of new technology to come out now? It seems like with every single thing that they release, our privacy diminishes more and more. What is there that I don't have, that I can't do, that they're going to come out with and I'm going to be excited about it? You know, around the turn of the century, you know, you started to have computers and you had games, and, you know, maybe it was kind of bringing each people together. Now it's just like, oh, we got a smarter and smarter TV. Now here's a new law. I think I have something about it. What's up, Jage? I think I have something about it coming up, and they're voting in Congress on. I gotta put my socks on my tootsies. It's starting to get chilly in here. I'm turning my heater over here. In Congress, they're voting on whether or not to include mandatory kill switches in cars. And that is a huge thing, because then, you know, as the tumbleweed goes, you'll have we stopped him because he was drunk. He wasn't driving. You know, if you swerved it, avoid a rabbit, whatever, all these types of things. They can just shut you down, and then you're stuck like Chuck. You can't do anything. So they tried already with the kill switches at the traffic lights. You know, you can disable it, but you have to disable it every time you drive. It's a pain in the ass. I think it's a stupid idea to begin with, because it's not really saving that much fuel when you're idling at a traffic light. You use the most gas when you're starting to accelerate. So that was a really dumb idea. And you know, it wears on your starter if you're having to start every time, so it's more expensive as far as that in the long run. I don't think I'll be going 6 hours. I hope to be done in 2 solid, right through. Like I said, it's going to be a quick hitter. They talk more about the HDMI and the cameras that are built into the TVs also watching you. That has been going on for a long time. It was alleged in the very beginning of the cable box days that it was a two-way box. So you weren't just receiving a signal, you were sending back a signal. And now that seemed like a big conspiracy theory then, but it's not so far-fetched now, is it? So
internet coverage.
I thought that he's got a couple of these videos out right now. Let's watch what I have here.
Okay guys, this is what I was trying to show you in the live. Again, I booked this appointment at like 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday the 23rd after being out with my daughter doing birthday stuff with her literally all day out of town. I've been on the road for like 12 hours, my back was hurting, I was tired, but I booked this, and then within 12 hours I was there at my appointment. Tell me why. I walk in and this right here is the first thing I see. Then tell me why. I look down and I see the same fur on this little stool that Xana has in her room, along with a good vibe sign. Not just a good vibe sign, but it also has the same plant decoration. Signs are crazy.
I'd forgotten I clipped that. It reminds me of the frat texts or chats or whatever they were on Facebook that were like good vibes only, that type of thing. She has another video now about the Eco Shield guys. She'd backed off of the Eco Shield guys for a while, but it's a pretty wild lifestyle. I think it ties into maybe why Kaylee decided not to leave if she had, whatever the case may be. But just to go to the doctor and see that's pretty crazy. Let's see here. I hope you're doing great. It's nice to see everybody. Come on in. We got a lot to show you.
Registration, insurance?
I'm excited for the show.
Well, I need insurance on the vehicle. I don't care who owns it. You look familiar.
Yeah. You watch gay porn?
Oh, slam.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
My name's Jackie Taylor, but that's not my real name. When I was 7 years old, I was put into witness protection. This is everything I'm authorized to tell you. No, we didn't get a new house, and no, we didn't get a new car, and no, we definitely did not get a briefcase full of money. People's assumptions of what goes on in the witness protection program is generated from Hollywood because nobody really knows what goes on besides people like me that are in it. The only aspect that Hollywood got right is how we were taken out of our beds by men in black.
You know, Lori, that's actually a good point. I have a buddy. He uses Linux. He uses analog equipment. He has a recording studio, and he has a server that runs off of like Windows. What was the first one? Before Windows 95, and he's like, with the technology that I'm using, they can't. Even the CIA can't hack it. So it's security through obsolescence. He's got all obsolete, and it's just as fast. You know, he'll give you just as good of a program as the 7-minute guy, as the 8-minute guys in 7 minutes. So that's a great point. If we don't, you know, if they start running these mandatory things that we have to have kill switches in our cars and all this stuff, it'll get real ugly real quick because they tend to abuse the power as soon as they get it in every way possible, and it's disgusting. These women do it through a lot. Check this out.
In the middle of the night.
Hi, look. I may not.
Growing up, I believe I actually came home from the hospital to the Cleveland Hells Angel Clubhouse. And still to this day, I feel, I love that culture. There was a lot of family involvement. There were kids and moms, and we had backyard barbecues all the time. I thought it was normal for every man to have a blade on their belt, or I thought it was normal for them to all have pistols in their boots. My father was Butch Crouch. He was one of the founding members of the Banditos in Houston. So in about 1969, he took his coat off, his Banditos coat, and he was recruited by Sonny Barger to
That's about as old
start
school as
some
you can
clubs
get right
up
there.
in the Northeast states. He ended up settling in Cleveland,
Sent
Ohio.
big
and
Amish
became
over
vice
there with a
president
cart
of one of the
so you can
Cleveland
move.
Hells Angels chapters up there. And that's where he met my mother. My father was no saint. His rap sheet in Louisiana and Texas alone was insane. I found it. He was very abusive to my mother. Right around 1974, 1975, the club started to fracture. The club was supposed to be voting on different things that happened, especially if a life was supposed to be taken. That had to be a unanimous decision. In 1975, a member of the Cleveland Hells Angels went rogue, I guess you could say, and decided that he was going to bomb a house. He wanted to, what was called, roll his bones. He wanted to get patched in. He did bomb that house with a couple other people, and he killed 3 people. That was a Sigley bombing, and an 18-month-old baby was killed along with his mother. At the time, I was the same age as the baby and running around the clubhouse. It really upset a lot of the club members, especially my father. I think that's when my father started to kind of branch off mentally from the club. Very, very early 1981, my mother actually left my father and took all of us children down to Florida to get away from him. And that's when my father really decided, okay, now my wife and children just left me. This isn't the life that I wanted. So my father left the club in about mid-1981, I believe. A person like my father could not walk away and be out good. So he knew he'd be out bad, which is not good for him or his family. So what my father decided to do was to call the ATF and to see if he offered them a lot of information on different crimes that had occurred, if they would place him and his family in witness protection. So he told the marshals that for him to further cooperate, that he wanted his wife and kids back. The marshals reached out to my mother and told my mother, you know, we know that you left Butch, but now he turned government witness, and you have to come back to him. You have to come back to this abusive man, because now he's testifying against all these people, and you're all going to be killed if you don't go back with him and go into witness protection. When my father decided to turn on the club, he did rat everybody out. Yes, he was a rat, but he decided, well, if I'm going to do this right, I'm going to do it. I need to tell you guys something. I killed Donald Delisario. He had taken a life of an 18-year-old kid in a drive-by shooting that was intended for somebody else, and he didn't receive a reduced sentence. I believe he was given 10 to 40 in a federal prison.
If you have dementia or are afraid you might have it, you shouldn't drink warm water, and I'll explain.
We were taken out of our beds. I was 7, my sister was 5, and my brother was 2. We were all absolutely terrified. We had no idea what was going on. My mother knew. My mother had been making plans secretly. When she would do laundry, she'd put a couple shirts away or a couple pairs of shorts. She couldn't take everything. I think she packed a suitcase for each kid. We were put into vans and taken to a hotel, switched vans, I remember that, and eventually reunited with my father. And then we went to a safe house. There's a handful of safe houses across the US, and we were put in one. It was a giant house with different wings on it. They made meals for us. The marshals, I remember them cooking with their sidearms. I actually have a picture of us eating Thanksgiving dinner with the marshals. We weren't permitted to leave. We weren't in prison by any means, but you know, we couldn't leave without them. So I remember we went to Kmart. That was kind of a big thing. We all had to pile in the van, and you know, we just did a little Kmart thing. I think we were in the safe house for about 3 months. From everything that I've heard from other people, it usually takes about 2 or 3 months for all the proper paperwork to be done to, you know, create a new identity. The marshals asked my mother and asked my father, name the top 3 places that you would like to live. So my mother, I believe, said California, Hawaii, and Florida. And my father probably said Texas, Louisiana, Florida, whatever. So they put us in Montana. All of my mother's best friends knew she loved going to California. That's why they put us in Montana. Nobody would ever suspect that we were in Montana. We were flown there. We came from Florida, so we were wearing Florida clothes. We were allotted about $12.61 a month back in 1981. We were put in a motel, the Esquire Motor Inn. This was a flea bag of a motel. It was disgusting. They bring us to Montana at the end of January, and it's snow, it's cold, we have no car, we have no winter clothes. Did they provide us winter clothes? No. So that $12.61 that we were allotted a month had to be immediately spent on, you know, some winter gear. And we had to pay our hotel. They probably paid it the first month, I'm guessing. I found out later in life that my mother was really scrimping and scraping even that first month to feed us. There was absolutely no extra. If you ran out, and that's tough. You're gonna have to figure out how to feed your family on $5 this week. Uncovering all that I've uncovered about different members being in witness protection is that there's a tier level. So the better testimony, the more convictions you get, the better life that you're going to have afterwards. My father didn't get any convictions at first. He did end up getting a conviction later. And I think that they were angry that my father didn't get any convictions oh, he was a crappy witness, you know, let's just, you know, we just got dumped there. We all got different social security numbers. Mine's from Wisconsin, a man who passed away in Wisconsin. I have his social security number. My mom's was from New York. We all have different prefixes. So it looks like we were all born in all different places. My mother had to start from scratch with her social security. So everything that she'd built up with social security, gone. She had to start all over again. So she had to work extra in her life. She has to cut off all of her family ties. She can never talk to her parents again. We were never permitted to talk to our grandparents who were, you know, we were so close with. She wasn't even allowed to go talk to a counselor, and they didn't provide counseling. So how are you supposed to deal with that? So my mother did break protocol. She started calling her parents again. The biggest reason was mental support, but also financial support. Because my father went back and he was going back and forth testifying. He was only in the house with us in Montana for right around a year.
There is a whole series of these, what it's really like to be in the FBI, what it's really like to be in witness protection. This one's riveting. I mean, the daughter of the founder of pretty much the Hells Angels there, and what they went through back then, and just to give you a picture. And so you have that whole area there with all the spook shit happening. JJ, who served his country for a long time, now winds up there in need of help. Boom, this great opportunity comes. They put him there. You have a lot of fucking Fed activity in that northwest area. Just saying. All right, so let's see here. Oh, JJ did make it safely. I think he's gonna do a live coming up on the 5th.
Jermaine struggled for years with dental
that
issues
he's
before
gonna,
finally
he's
finding.
gonna tell us about his new digs or whatever, I guess. So I'm looking forward to that. He's doing some kind of lunch, I think, today with somebody, or getting acquainted with the new place. He will be hanging out in the chat a little bit.
Listen to what he wanted most after his smile makeover.
I want to be.
Hey y'all, I'm alive. I survived the snowpocalypse, and I kept my power. Thank God, because I would not have survived the little house on the prairie life. Not built for it. But we are definitely still snowed in. This is what my yard looks like right now. There's about 10 inches of snow packed with ice on the top. So, living up on a hill, that means I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to leave this house, or when my kids are going to be able to leave this house. So, if you hear baby voices in the background, that's why. But I wanted to jump on here really quick because I put out the Idaho4 series part 4 the other day, 2 days ago. And literally,
Pedro,
the same day
what's up?
that I posted it, a new document came out. And because
Well,
I had already recorded
here's
that
the
video
thing.
and was editing it to post it.
He sat me down and took me to task about Pete Altieri, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But whenever I go to a new place, I spend a little bit of time describing the new place to the people because it's all new to me and my arrival and all that. There was no mention of that whatsoever, and so I thought that it was unusual. That's all I'm saying. You want me to notice shit, I notice shit. And so there's that. I don't know what's going on in Montana. I think it's great that the opportunity came up and you took it and you're there. Whatever it is, right on. I think you and Lucy both keep all kinds of shit from me, and I don't ever believe the story as it's told exactly, because I'm sure there's more to it. You and your cups of coffee, whatever it may be, that's between you guys. I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to tell you what I say. That's all. I don't know what sick is.
I wasn't able to include a lot of that information, even though I was able to include a few of the pictures that came with the document. But the documents in here are from the experts, the expert disclosures that was supposed to take place at the trial. And a lot of them are about the crime scene and about the autopsies. And I feel like this information is important and relevant. And it also backs up a lot of what I said in that last video. So let's go through these really quick. And I'm going to put these up on the screen to the side. So I'm deliberately leaving this blank space to the side of me so I can put the papers next to me. In Exhibit S1, it is the expert disclosure from Jenny Ayers. She is a state expert in the field of forensic science. And she was the Idaho State Police crime scene lady that I used a lot of her notes in the last video. And there's really nothing interesting in this one. She was just going to testify about the processing of the crime scene and how they collected some of the latent prints and whatnot. And she was going to testify about DNA. Exhibit S2 is from FBI agent Nicholas Balance, the guy that was real buddy-buddy with lead investigator Brett Payne. He had his hands in a lot of parts of this case that he was not supposed to have his hands in. But he was also the state expert in the field of historical cell site analysis. And so he was going to testify the cell phone evidence against Bryan Kohberger. But there's also not a lot of interesting information in this one, or at least information that's helpful to us. Then in Exhibit S3, it is another state witness, Taylor, don't get me saying this wrong, Myachek? Sorry, Taylor, somebody, if I said your name wrong. They were also a state expert for forensic DNA. And so she was also going to testify about the DNA evidence. But in the third page of their disclosure, it does say here that they were also going to discuss the partial DNA profile obtained from item 1.2, which was the DNA off the handle of the knife sheath, which indicated a mixture of 3 individuals, at least one of which is male. It says here, though, however, due to low-level results, no comparisons could be made, which is kind of funny because they did end up comparing Bryan Kohberger's DNA to this, and it didn't match. On the next page, it also says that this person, Taylor, may explain the partial DNA profile obtained from item 1.3, which was the blade portion of the knife sheath. And that indicated a mixture of DNA from at least 2 individuals, one of which is male. And this says they may also explain the mixture of DNA obtained from 1.4, which was the few blood spots on the back of the sheath. Then it explains that he was going to testify about the DNA profile obtained from the trash pool from Pennsylvania, where they got BK's dad's DNA, and how male E, which is BK's dad, was compared to item 1.1, which was the touch DNA on the button of the knife sheath, and that male E, BK's dad, could not be excluded as the biological father of male A. Male A was the touch DNA. In Exhibit S4, this is a report from Tara Martinez, and she is also a state expert, a forensic scientist, and was going to be an expert witness in the field of forensic science, which includes but is no way limited to latent prints and buccal swab collection and scene processing. And this is the lady that took the swab of Bryan Kohberger in January 2023. And most of this document is really just talking about how latent prints are identified. Nothing too interesting. Then we have Exhibit S5, Jade Miller, another expert witness for the state in the field of forensic biology and DNA. She was going to explain the DNA analysis. This particular exhibit was 3 pages long. On the second page, this talks a little bit about male B, the unknown male DNA found on the handrail on the crime scene. It says, in regard to male B, this profile was not entered into CODIS based on the location of the profile within the residence and the proximity of the profile to the victims. This was a large residence occupied by several college students, as well heavily trafficked by other students who may not have lived there. This profile was located on the underside of a handrail within a stairwell, which is frequently touched area that cannot be directly linked to the crime. It would not be uncommon to find unknown DNA on a handrail within this residence that got there in a manner that was not related to the crime. Okay. My problem with that statement from the get-go is this is blood. This was blood on that handrail. Yes, I understand that college students bleed. Yeah, nosebleeds, scrapes and cuts or whatever. But dismissing a bloody spot of unknown male DNA on the crime scene of a quadruple homicide is crazy to me. I don't care. That's crazy. Then it goes on to say, also the proximity of this profile to the victims makes it difficult to ensure it is attributable to the perpetrator. The value of this profile male B is not as high as that of the unknown male profile male A, which was obtained from the knife sheath, as the victims were believed to have been stabbed to death and the knife sheath was located next to one of the victims. Okay. While I understand that, it's also touch DNA versus blood DNA. And all DNA should matter, right?
So keep in mind that the blood, the touch DNA sample, which touch DNA in the military courts is not even admissible. In some states, it's not admissible. The sample itself, 90 picules or whatever, is only at 18% of a actual viable sample. Okay, and then they down the road, it gets left in a humidifier or refrigerator with the cord unplugged, and they throw it away like the house. So yeah, there's some bullshit there. One thing I will say is that for two people that I haven't met, you guys are probably the best, most loyal, closest friends that I've had. I consider JJ one of the best friends I've ever had, and Heather has undoubtedly been a source of all kinds of information for me and defended me like a cornered cat when the times came to it, and I love her for that. Watching her and Twiz tear people's eyes out for even mentioning my name, almost brings tears to my eyes. And that being said, I think that there may be things that I don't know, and maybe it's just because I have hopes that you guys, because it's wild that you two are so similar and have found each other and talk and stuff like that. I think it's great. My imagination might run away with me a little bit, and I'm kind of ribbing you a little bit here, but yeah, I don't know. Pack your stuff for Mexico. I don't know where you guys are headed. Hopefully Abner and Pippopotamus will get along, down the road, and everything will be harmonious down there. Congratulations on being in Montana, and congratulations on people finally recognizing all the work you do instead of treating you like a fucking secretary, Heather. I really am glad to see it. People are finally kind of catching up, and you've done it with everyone. Everyone's starting to realize it now, is that you've put the breadcrumbs out there and let everybody figure it out for themselves. There's been very few occasions where you've given me something that I wasn't able to get there, and in some cases you've actually just screamed it in my face. You put the answers out there at the most random times. I'll come in a chat like Audrey's DNA or something, like 1 a.m, and you're like, here's what it is, folks. But I'm like, oh shit, that's what you're talking about. It's awesome. We've known that there was more to the G-Fam than what it lies on the surface, and this has been a big bone in her side as far as this LLC goes, and the nature of it and the people connected to it. And it's something that a lot of us just kind of overlooked. I played that on the show, from her, and there's been a couple of her videos that I missed, that I skipped over, and that's why I kind of liked doing the MK Ultra, and that's why I've adopted that format over here. Amika, how is? I guess you're not getting the cold front down there. I mean, you're probably nice and warm. Yeah, no, seriously, JJ. I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and they're like, "What do you mean you're his best friend?" I'm like, he's a very good person. He interrupts everything I say, and that's a big requirement for me. Anyway, so every aspect of this case is literally screams spook shit. And when you talk about the people that are kind of, JJ, how did you put it exactly last night? With people that have a background with, that looks like they've had a troubled past. This is exactly what they want to put people that are feds through. So where you have a guy that wears glasses and a hat that's out there looking like a fed, and you look into his background, and he's got all kinds of arrests. This is exactly what they want. That makes sense. And then when you have people that are collaborating that don't even meet as on a basic intelligence level, let alone an information and knowledge level of the case that they're covering, it tells you one thing, that either there's some money involved or there is some type of common goal. And I think that's what we're seeing. Well, I played your Valhalla clip at the very beginning. That's how we started the show today. Nice to see you. And I think this is it's always a good time. I'm always sharing my mood. My heart's always on my sleeve, you know that. I can't hide anything. Like I said, my sister trained me that she made me know I cannot lie. So I'm the terrible liar. I was never able to lie myself out of anything. And if somebody pretended that I was, I thought I was getting away with it, but I didn't, because I know, so I don't do that. Anyway, on with the show, my friends.
It blows my mind, the amount of DNA that was on this crime scene that they just never tested. Then this also talks about unknown male D, the glove. It says this profile was developed from a gardening-style glove, located outside the residence in a publicly accessible area. No DNA from the victims was located on this item, and a direct link to the crime could not be established. It does also note, however, that the DNA on this glove and the DNA on the handrail did not match. It was not from the same male. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to do this, guys. Everybody's so loud. I can hear one kid cooking and one kid talking to herself. All right, but the next exhibit is Exhibit S6. This is from a lady named Ann Nord. She was an expert witness in the field of controlled substances and toxicology. And really the only thing of interest on here is that she does come out and say that the blue powder found in Xana's room was found to be amphetamine, Adderall, just like I said. Then we have Exhibit S7, and that is the disclosure from Raylene Nolan. And we see a lot from her in some of the other court documents, which makes sense since she is the Idaho State Police Forensic Services Laboratory Manager. And on this second page, it says that Mrs. Nolan was going to testify about touch DNA and transfer.
It means a lot to me, the people that are here today. Here's the thing is, I think that if I decided to come back and do a consistent regular show, I could be as popular at least as I was before. I think that a lot of people have kind of turned a shoulder to me because I think they realize that I could be as big a threat to them as anybody else. But here we are, small channel still. I don't mind. It's fine. We do shows, or I do shows when I feel like there's something to be said. I'm not just going to get out there and reword the 50 phrases I did the day before and go, I don't know. I know what I'm listening to, what I'm bringing to you. I know where we're at that point in time, at least. What answers I have here, I mean, it just seems pretty obvious that that we're not going to get any answers. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be the dollar bill on the end of the fishing line, and you're going to go to grab it, and it's going to get pulled back. So to hope that we get some kind of innocence project or something like that, and Brian's released, you can dream. You can dream, but it's probably not going to happen, buddy. So if the old boys network that's so solid in that area starts unraveling, that will be our best chance at justice. And I've said it a million times.
She was going to testify to the potential for DNA to transfer between an individual and objects, including the distinction between primary and secondary transfer and the factors influencing the likelihood of transfer. Because as we know, touch DNA is transferable. One of my favorite examples of this is I can say, hello, my name is Amber, and we can shake hands. And if I were to immediately pick up a knife sheath, it could.
What do you guys think about the theory that Miss Potts was saying, is that she noticed that there were Walmart bags, that somebody went to Walmart while they were investigating the crime, like came back with whatever materials they needed, or maybe the kill kit or something, who knows, and you have the footage of him at Walmart. Now, I think somebody even correlated the time, whatever, of the investigation that he was at Walmart, right? And so is it possible that his DNA was on something that got touched, and then they touched the knife sheath, and that's where the sample came from? Holy shit. Would that be crazy? I mean, if that's the case, though, how did the FBI get his name and give it to MPD? Those coincidences would be way too far-fetched to believe. But, it's something that's possible, I guess. We'd have to see. Bouger, possible connection, and is the shady business linked to the G's plausibly true and maybe connected? I mean, that's I think I'll not answer for Lucy, but I think that if they are involved in that, which it wouldn't be too far a reach considering what his brother was into, and that's definitely a large portion of that kind of community is the trafficking. That, you know, you have the babysitting club, you have, you know, so what happens behind closed doors, we don't know. I think it's possible. Cleaning supplies, yeah, right, exactly, dude. And yeah, the fact that somebody jumped, how did they get between the rooms? How did they do it? How did Hunter go in, check a pulse, not track any blood, not notice that they were laying on a pillow cut? And the other thing is they were all laying on pillows. You know, if they had said from the beginning, oh, they were all laying on pillows, that would have been true. They could have gotten away with that. By saying they were all sleeping is a narrative. That's a lie. That's a flat out lie. And I think they even mentioned that in the WSU lawsuit. Yeah, Steve definitely knows at this point. He's sticking to his story to the very end. I wonder if with this WSU lawsuit, the some of the details may come out, and they might say, well, Brian wasn't the guy. Already the mainstream media, not just in the YouTube community, but is saying that, oh, now a second perpetrator is looking obvious. A second? It would have taken like 5 to 10 people. Another thing I'll give credit, and thanks, Jake, for giving me the heads up on it, to Pete, is that he is in the same theory that I am. And I think they used Yik Yak or something like this to live stream it. While they did it, you had at least 5 to 10 people torturing them, cutting Ethan up, maybe, you know, allegedly tearing Kaylee's heart out, you know, for whatever reason, if they were trying to get a bullet out, whatever it may have been. If I'm trying to think of a reason why you would, in the first place, have a pipe bomb. Secondly, use it, other than to disorient someone or overtakes. I gotta put the Tootsies are getting cold here. Other than, you know, you got a 6'4" guy, you have power, and, you know, you throw it in the room to disable him or whatever. But beyond that, I you know, do we hear anything that we would think is an explosion? I didn't hear anything on the 112 cam. So what would be amazing, and we already know that Steve G isn't on the level with as far as telling his stories, as far as, oh, Adam Lotta was working and da 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 da. So we know his stories aren't necessarily everything we hear, and that's why I say these other channels are kind of like in the little kindergarten schoolyard, just circling around, poking fingers in each other's butts over and over, because they're trying to find receipts. They're trying to find truth out of bullshit. And you at that point you have to step outside into the big yard and start coming up with fucking shit that makes sense. And it's the only thing that you can say is that it's covered up top to bottom, and somebody is being protected. Obviously, we all know that. And you're not going to find any receipts. They're all gone. The house was the last of them. It was the biggest, and they did it right in front of our face. Nobody can go in there. and say this and find that, or whatever is the missing element that we don't have. So they've covered their ass, and they're going to stick to their guns. And there's money involved. It's money, dude. Money. Period. Power and money. So anyway, let's listen to her. She's really good. I like this.
Could be. Not saying it would be, but it is possible that your DNA could show up and not mine. Touch DNA is useful in forensic science, but it can be a bit touchy. Anyway, Exhibit S8 is from Eric Seat, and he was a state expert in the field of forensic biology and DNA, which includes, but in no way is limited to, DNA extraction, quantitation, amplification, blah, 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 blah. We're good on that. And it specifies particularly that Seat may testify regarding his involvement in this case, in which he developed a male DNA profile from lab item 6, a reference oral sample from Connor Chestnut. This is very interesting, and this is not even something we have touched on yet. So I don't want to go too deep into this because we haven't talked about Connor. A lot of y'all may have never even heard his name before. Connor Chestnut is a rather mysterious individual. For a long time, I didn't know his name at all. I referred to him only as Jack's mysterious bestie, because this guy is best friends with Jack Showalter, hoodie guy, and he had some personal connections to Maddie Mogan. And both of those dudes also had some problematic behaviors. But I don't want to get off on a tangent because we have not discussed this yet, but that's interesting. Then we have Exhibit S9.
Much better.
The most important of these supplemental expert disclosures that was included. It seems Paulette Sutton was an expert in the field of crime scene reconstruction and blood stain pattern analysis. And this includes her revised report, along with rebuttal testimony from some defense experts. And there's a lot of important details in this. I'm actually going to move to this side just so I can move my mic further away from the baby monitor. But first in this packet we have some details about the autopsy. Unfortunately, it does not include the coroner's time of death, but it gives the cause of death, multiple sharp force injuries, and significant contributors, blunt force injuries of the head, and asphyxial injuries. Significant findings include
asphyxial injuries, choked, punched, stabbed, just like Haley's aunt said. Shit. I was gonna say.
Stab and incise wounds of this.
Rewind.
Along with rebuttal testimony from some defense experts. And there's a lot of important details in this. I'm actually going to move to this side just so I can move my mic further away from the baby monitor. But first in this packet we have some details about the autopsy. Unfortunately, it does not include the coroner's time of death, but
there it is. Shout out to Pete. Oh, Jerry. And I would say that I was probably the first one to say it way back in chat in Thought Riot days, that the smell, variable with the temperature. By the time you have Detective Kane and the coroner getting there, you're at 15, 16 hours. Now, there's not a reference to the smell. You do see a little bit of a reaction when they first get there. It seems to me more like an initial shock of the scene itself. The crime scene seems staged. Okay, they're all Xana laying on a pillow on the middle of the floor. Fuck you. That's staged. No shit. Literally, where's the shit? That I should have put that as a title. Where's the shit for this video? So you're gonna have 16 hours of shit sitting in a room. You ever had a dog shit in your house before and come home to it? Yeah. After an hour, your house it's gonna be hard to get rid of that smell. You have 4 of them release their bowels. Whatever was left in their body, urine, piss, shit, everything's coming out. Fucking reeked. And there's no evidence of it. So imagine walking into a house and you look down and there's a tarp. Imagine the sinking feeling you're going to get, the horror of that alone. And now They're torturing the people. That is the only explanation for those bodies being in the actual condition that they were, those rooms being in the way that they were, and there being no evidence of blood transfer between the two rooms. So, boom. I think that it was worst case scenario that somebody was just laying in wait. They had it all prepared, put the bodies, lay it down on a pillow, boom. And I don't know. Maybe what I was thinking when Potts was doing that live with the crime scene photos was that incendiary device was used to recreate blood spatter, and that's what it does seem. Where the blood spatter that is there came from, whether that was the intention or not, it doesn't seem. The thing is, when you first stab somebody, I can only imagine that the initial incision is going to cause the most spray, right? Because you have the most pressure coming out. All the follow-up stuff, it's going to be less and less. You're going to start to trickle out because you don't have as much pressure coming out. So there is that. Here's the thing about the amino black, though. What JJ was telling me is that they tended to use it in areas where, like, a dog would normally pee. The post on the on the banister of the balcony. What they don't tell you about the amino black is it also detects, like, beer, the yeast in beer, and urine. So it will show as a positive result with beer and urine, and that way it looks like they've got the investigation into these matters when it's not blood, it's other things. So there's that. Carrying on now.
It gives the cause of death, multiple sharp force injuries, and significant contributors, blunt force injuries of the head, and asphyxial injuries. Significant findings include stab and incised wounds of the scalp, face, and neck, 24. Wounds to the chest, 3 to the upper extremities. Kaylee also had punctures of the outer table of the skull, injuries to her teeth and tongue, perforations of the subclavian artery and vein, hemorrhage into the chest cavities, and blunt force injuries, which include scalp laceration, bleeding around the brain, nasal fracture, scrapes on the nose and cheeks, bruising around the eyes, pattern bruises extending across the lower face. That's that lined pattern I was talking about. Hemorrhages in the eyes and mouth. So then it actually does give a blood alcohol level, which this is good to know. Kaylee's blood alcohol concentration was 0.107. So that puts her in the range of 0.10 to 11. So Kaylee was buzzed, but that's not super, super drunk. As most of us know, 0.08 is the legal driving limit in most states. So she was just a little bit over the legal limit. Then we have Maddie. Maddie had 13 stab wounds to her scalp, face, and neck. I didn't realize she had that many. She had 5 to the chest and 10 wounds to the upper extremities. She had wounds of the lung and liver. And she also had perforations of the subclavian vein, subclavian artery, and blood vessels of the chest wall. So that puts Kaylee, Maddie, and Ethan is all having wounds to the subclavian vein. Maddie, however, had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.282. She was pretty drunk, yeah. 0.28 alcohol
I'm
level.
laughing right now. I got pulled over. I was driving down 19 here by Almerton, actually, before I lived down here. And I dropped this girl off. And she's like, do you want to come in? We'd been doing... we might have been at the bar partying, and it was one of the few times we went out partying. We'd planned it out. It was wild. When you have to drive, for some reason, everybody's buying shots. And so, we were partying pretty hard, and I would say I was determined to make sure I got her home safe. She later told me I didn't give a shit. I could have got a ride from anybody. But I had to drive her way down here to Largo. And so... long story short, I drop her off. She's like, do you want to come in, hang out, whatever? She's like, you can stay the night, whatever, and go home in the morning. And I'm like, no. I was in a fight with my girlfriend. I didn't want to, embellish that more. So I drive home. I'm in my truck, and I needed an alignment at that point. I wish I'd gotten it. And right as I was going over the bridge at East Bay and US 19, my phone rang, and it was on my dashboard. And so I went to grab it, and my truck would veer right whenever you release the steering wheel. And so I went to grab the phone, and I think I dropped it or something, and I veered into the safety lane, and I pulled it back. Anyway, I got pulled over, but I refused to breathe, to blow. And it was this rookie ginger cop lady. And she's like, she did the field sobriety, and she determined that I may have been DUI, and I refused to blow. Allegedly, this is all alleged. I actually somewhere have the CD of me in the car riding in the back on the way home. So they actually can't make you blow if you've done a field sobriety. It's one or the other. And so I didn't blow, thank God, because I must have done, I don't know, more shots, I think, than I've ever done. We were down in pictures like crazy. So I'm listening to .2, and I hear all these things. I may have been driving like a .10, .11, .12, who knows? It was. I ended up not getting a DUI out of it, but anyway.
We knew that, though. We could tell that by looking at just the surveillance footage that caught her walking around. Then on Xana's, she had 23 stab wounds to the scalp, face, and neck, 7 to the chest, 4 stab wounds to the abdomen, incised and puncture wounds on the back, 3 of those, 25 wounds to the upper extremities, 5 wounds to the lower extremities.
I'm trying to picture myself in a knife fight. I don't like the idea of a knife in a fight, because there's so many ways that somebody can turn it back on you. You know, even a gun is not a necessarily 100% effective, tool, but a knife, you would picture in your mind that you're going to aim for the largest area, your chest, your abdomen, whatever, and your torso. You had 23 to the head, and so you think at 2, 3, 4, you've demobilized or whatever a person, any regular person. I mean, we obviously on the show here we've seen gunshots 5, 6, 7 that haven't even stopped these crazy people, but when you talk about 23 stab wounds to the head, a little excessive, guys. I mean, it's just, and then you got 4 in the stomach. It's like just somebody kept going and going and going and going, or there was multiple people doing it. I don't know. It's really amazing with that type of commitment and that type of involvement in the crime that nothing gets transferred outside of between the rooms. It's too neat. It's too pretty and too perfect. So, but we lost our audio. Hold on. I did that. That's me.
Vessel, upper extremities, 5 wounds to the lower extremities, punctures to her skull, perforations of the jugular vein, heart, lung, and pulmonary blood vessels, hemorrhage into chest cavities, wounds extending into the bones of the right hand, scrapes and bruises on the face, torso, and extremities.
Welcome in, La Fugitiva.
Have you heard about pop-on roofing? We need 50 homeowners in your area to trial this radically simple new roofing service. Did this at no cost to try.
Dude, I had this idea for those kind of roofs a long time ago, because you see this stupidity with the roofs, where they put these 10-year shingles that look good for 5. They blow off at the slightest wind, and I'm like, can't you just pour like a rubbery thing over the roof and be done with it forever? And now if you have a metal roof which already has a 100-year lifespan, and then you pour some kind of glob over it, but that ends the roofing industry, right? It's just like with 23andMe, you've used up all your customer base, they're not coming back, and God forbid that we don't have to spend stupid money on wasteful shit every 10 years. Now the more expensive ACs, and I don't know if you guys have as much of a problem with it up where you are, but here There's if you have a blown coil or the fan's out, they you need a whole new system. We got a different kind of Frigidaire there going on. You have to spend 10 grand, and then they last 2 years. As soon as the warranty's out, so is the AC. Another 10 G's. You can't fix anything anymore. They just replace it, right? And it's ridiculous. And anyway, just a little soapbox.
Homeowners with professional pop-on roof technicians in your area. Pop-on roofs are the latest innovation in roofing. They are beautiful and
reading their injuries literally makes my bones hurt. My hands are shaking. But Xana's blood alcohol level was 0.229. So she was drunk too. Yes. 0.23 blood alcohol level that's pretty drunk. And it was also found that Xana had an amphetamine level of 12. So I looked this up so I could look at a chart. Technically, that number would be negative on a drug test. And amphetamines like Adderall will last in your system about 1 to 3 days. So I think it's safe to say that Xana had probably taken an Adderall the day before, but not the day of. But then we have Ethan's. Ethan had 4 stab wounds to the scalp, face, and neck. 1 to the chest. 6 of the upper extremities. 6 of the lower extremities. And perforations of the jugular vein, subclavian vein, and subclavian artery. And Ethan's blood alcohol level was 0.122. So 12%.
I can tell you about the metal roofs. I know for a fact because we had Hurricane Charlie that hit here in around like 2008 or something like that. And we had gone surfing to a new place called Wabasso, which is just south of Sebastian Inlet in Melbourne. And all the beautiful homes there right in the water, the Indian River. It's, another barrier island here in Florida. And then we went back after the hurricane. We went there before, to surf the hurricane. And then we went after it hit. And the only roofs that were left on were the metal roofs. And right on the coast, right where the storm hit. And so after that, you saw a huge, people saw it with their own eyes that the metal roof was the way to go. I mean, even the heavy Spanish tile roofs were torn up, and that's very expensive, even for a small portion to replace of that. So, unfortunately, on the Gulf Coast here, it didn't take off as well. I kept telling my sister to get one. They didn't get one. They lost their roof in this last storm. I said, just get the metal roof. It's you try to share what you saw, and it doesn't necessarily always translate over. But yeah, that's definitely a huge thing. They look much better too. There is a lot. There's one house over there near Citrus Park in Tampa that has all copper. It's a horse farm ranch house, and they have copper down. It looks like Disney World. It was just so beautiful. The trim on this house it's absolutely beautiful.
He's buzzed, but not nearly as drunk as Xana and Maddie were. And his amphetamine level was a lot higher. It was at 260, so that definitely would have popped positive. So chances are...
So, they're giving us there was no drugs involved in the house narrative. When they already had the results, they knew going in, somebody's snorting lines of stuff, and they wanted to make sure that was not included in the public's view of what happened. So they were willing to lie to us about it. Another lie. Right there. Proven. They lied. Why are you fucking lying? Why are you lying about a murder? Why are you not giving us the details of what to look for? You know what I'm saying? And Stormy, what's up? Sleuthy sweetheart in the house. Nice to see you.
Ethan took an Adderall that night, or snorted it with their little roll-up dollar bills. But do you know what's crazy is realizing that Xana was fallen down drunk and still fought for her life. I will never quit talking about how amazing Xana Kernodle was. A lot of this is just the summary of the crime scene, which we know all of this. So I'm really just going to skip ahead to the parts that are relevant, that are interesting enough to include here. In number 5, she points
out... Somebody
that
also mentioned, and just to put it out there, that Bethany's family somehow related to a painting and cleaning company. I can tell you this, that one I'm sure, if any of you remember the phone call we made, I think Meg P or somebody brought a document with the directive about what to do in the case of an emergency, everything except for a homicide, it said, which I think that they kind of take that part of it with a grain of salt. But it was literally like a something they hand out at this was a sorority, like a newsletter kind of thing. If you have an overdose, if you have this or that, call this 1-800 number. And other channels are reporting it that they went and they saw it on the school website, but I don't think that's the case. It's the fraternities and sororities themselves have a 1-800 number. And so one night we got the actual thing that said on there what to do and the procedures. First, you don't call the police, you don't call your parents, you call the 1-800 number. So this crime happened on a Saturday night, right? It was Saturday night, I think, when I was doing the show. I called the 1-800 number, and you get an answering machine message. So you have to assume that there's somebody that monitors the messages. And they probably get a lot of calls all the time, and it's this and that, whatever. They don't expect it to be a quad hom on a Saturday night or late, early Sunday morning. So what I think happened is they said, oh my God, they called the number as soon as they found whatever it was, or whatever the case may be, and left the message. They did not get a response from whatever organization it is that calls you back for 5, 6, 7 hours. Then they, did whatever they did. In the meantime, you have them taking pictures, editing videos, sending pictures, sending texts. So you know that Hunter's lying, because he says he went in there, took their pulse, but didn't notice all that fucking blood in the perfect daylight. Dude, you can't see, or you blind, you know what I mean? You can't smell. Why are you fucking lying? Another really crazy fucking shit. So, anyway.
Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez are laying on their backs. People still to this day argue with me that Kaylee was found sitting up in the corner because of what the Gonzalez family stated at one point, that she was found backed into the corner. But Kaylee was not sitting up. She was on her back. And it says Kaylee is partially lying on top of the right arm, right shoulder, and upper torso of Maddie. So it's almost like their heads are together a little bit. And then it says the posture and proximity of the bodies of Kaylee.
Well, I mean, they had the heat could be on 90, but the door was wide open allegedly. So that's going to be very ineffective. I mean, I have the little heater fan. If I open that door in 2 seconds, this place is going to be cold, But yeah, I remember hearing that the heat was very tough.
Visualized when the comforter is removed as depicted in the photo that they did not give us. It's just blacked out. It does note that no blood is noted on the bottoms or the tops of their feet, which indicates that they were not upright or moving about the area after their bloodletting injuries were inflicted. And no bloodletting injuries were reported below the waist or on the backs of either Kaylee or Maddie. And then it notes Kaylee's pajama pants. And the lack of blood on the front of her sleeping pants further supports the conclusion that Kaylee never stood upright after the bloodletting injuries to her upper body were inflicted. But then it states, Maddie's left leg is extended from under the bed covers and her left foot is on the floor. That's what this redacted box is next to her bed. I was wondering what that was. That's her leg. It also says a piece of debris is noted on the floor between the left foot of Maddie Mogan and the pillow and is indicated by the yellow oval.
I have to Swamp Rose at least once a day. I think it's pretty obvious that if you were fighting in a fight with somebody with a knife and you're twirling around, you're wasted, whatever, what are the chances that your head is going to fall right on a pillow? And, I think another credit to Pete is he said that it was a tactic to make it to push the narrative that they were all sleeping when this happened. So everybody was found with their head on a pillow. Well, guess what? Maddie's bed sheet is completely fucking white. How did you lose 9 pints of blood? Dude, 1 pint of blood will just completely destroy a room. 9 pints? 9 pints. They lost all their blood. And then, the pillow, one of the pillows, we'll show it here. It doesn't, none of it, darn it, matches up to what it was.
In a picture we did not receive. It should be noted, there were no drip trails of blood on the bedroom floor.
Scalp.
Drip trails
Scalp.
indicate movement by a bleeding individual.
All these things, they tell you
a large pool
that
of blood
it was revenge. And then, there's another thing he said is that if Ethan was the CI that we allegedly hear Lanier say, or hear from the other officer, that one of them was their CI for the state police, I guess, that would be a reason that you're going to send a message. Whatever, you cut the Achilles, which is extremely painful. Oh my God. And then, maybe allegedly cutting out Kaylee's heart, just as a message to whatever they did, or whatever they knew, and were about to come forward with. Don't do this. Rui Manui, what's going on? Hello, Blue Devil 95. Wow, what an honor. Nice to see you. Very nice to have you here. Let's keep going, guys. Man, I can do it.
At approximately the thigh region of Kaylee, even though, referring to the autopsy report, no injuries are reported in this area to account for this pool of blood. For this large pool of blood to accumulate, a source of blood had to be above this area while bleeding occurred. Because, gravity. So, the blood's pooling into her lap. That means that Kaylee was sitting up when she received these injuries.
I'll be right back, guys.
In order for for it to flow down.
I got my hands are
and it
getting
does
all
state on the next page, the distribution of the
back.
blood stains on the face and upper body of Kaylee. The blood stain on the south wall beside the bed and the pool of blood at Kaylee's thigh region on the comforter indicates that her posture and position did change during this event. Number 20 here talks about the location of the sheath. The location of a brown object in the vicinity of the lower left back and or thigh of Maddie Mogan is indicated by a yellow oval inserted in the image we didn't get. This object was later identified as a brown knife sheath. The back of the knife sheath is exposed. Spatter associated with an impact is noted on the sheet on which the brown knife sheath is found. And the next page says that the blood on the back of the sheath was identified as a mixture of Kaylee and Maddie. Kaylee was the major profile of DNA, and Maddie is the potential minor contributor. All right, my baby's not going to settle down. I might come back and try to finish recording this, so if you see me looking 2 different ways, that's why. I'll try to finish this in a bit, guys. Mommy duty calls. All right, guys, I'm back again, but y'all may pick up some background sounds. Sorry about that. I'm doing the best I can. But I'm dying to talk about this. So we're just going to deal with a little background noise. Moving on to page 22 of this report. She has number 23. Oh, yeah. Let me scoot over for my paper here. So number 23 says, stain 48 was on the opening edge of the door to Maddie's room. And she's reporting that testing showed the sample originated from Kaylee. So it's Kaylee's blood. Then she notes a second area of swipe transfer stain on the opening edge of the bedroom door, indicated by marker X. So on that spot, Kaylee was found to be the major contributor of that DNA mix, and Maddie is the potential minor contributor. Note here underneath the DNA results, it says, there is no physical evidence to indicate that Kaylee or Maddie created this swipe on the edge of the door. She will reinforce this in every single point she makes. So this is where it is important to understand when we're reading these documents to pay attention to the language, because the language that the state uses is meant to convince you that Brian Kohberger is guilty. But the language that the defense uses is meant to create reasonable doubt. And they will both use this. So really, when we're looking at this, we're looking for that middle ground. The middle ground between the state and the defense, because that's where the truth is. On this page, it says marker 42 depicts a patterned transfer stain near the hinge side of the exterior surface of Maddie's bedroom door. A pattern transfer is created when a patterned object that is still wet with blood made contact with the surface. But she also notes the appearance of this stain is consistent with diluted blood. Switching sides again, hoping you'll pick up less background noise, but I don't think it's going to help. But then it says the appearance of the stain is consistent with diluted blood. And we know diluted blood is created when blood is mixed with another liquid. This page is talking about the stains on the stairwell from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor. I'm going to put the picture up. The yellow arrow points to stain 41. Stain 41 is a transfer stain on the top of the banister. Stain N and O are slightly below the banister, and this did test positive for blood. And it says here that stain 41 consists of 2 pattern transfer stains on the handrail between the 3rd and the 2nd level of the residence. Once again, pattern transfer stains were created when an object with a pattern was wet and it touched the thing. And it does say that a swiping motion is visible on that stain. And the DNA test matched these spots to Maddie. And this was not a combination of DNA, apparently. It was just Maddie's DNA. In the next page, they're just showing some pictures of said stains. Then stains M and L are located on the inner side of that banister. And this says that they are light-colored transfer stains and did test positive for blood. Stain K is located on the switchback between level 3 and level 2. And it is a light-colored transfer stain on the wall at the switchback between level 3 and 2. Stain K can be seen in more detail, blah, blah, blah. Then there was stain J. Stain J is a light-colored transfer stain on the wall at the bottom of the stairs, not far from Dylan's door. And since they do not identify who these stains came from, I'm going to assume that they did not test these DNA samples. This page talks about the ping pong table, and this bothers me a bit. On the top of the table was stain 39, and this was a very clearly diluted blood stain. And the stain on this table revealed the DNA of Kaylee. This is what I'm talking about.
Why is Amazon paying me $63,000 a month? Well, I didn't make this kind of money selling yoga mats.
Is what I'm talking about state language, okay? They will suggest things to convince you that there is nothing weird here. So it goes on to say the presence of an overturned cup in the vicinity of stain 39 is a potential source of the dilution if the cup, in fact...
Honestly, Amy, I think that's a partial reason they tore down the house so quickly and tried to have the cleanup crew. And who hired the cleanup crew? The college? Was it the college that hired the cleanup crew? Who had the house torn down? Was the college that did that? That was the college. And they had MPD drive the personal belongings? Was it Brian Kober that had the house torn down? No. Was it Brent Kalpaka? No. Who fucking did this? Who's covering up? The college and MPD. They wanted to hide it, and they were willing to pay for it because that wasn't free. The demolition of the house wasn't free. No, they had to pay for it. Who would pay for it? The person that... So if you had that house still, and you had these photos, and you had a crime scene recreationist, whatever that position is, come in, yeah, they could probably tell you step by step. That was the whole point of forensics, and that's what you would have in the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle books with Sherlock Holmes meticulously looking at each piece of evidence and putting together a probable scenario, and you get better and better at it, I guess, through time or through, whatever natural talent that has or using the procedures. And then, when you eliminate the impossible, the most probable is the answer. And so, they're, Koberg did not pay to have that house torn down. He had no reason to do that, and they'll double down on it now instead of, oh, it was just Koberger. Now he had an accomplice, because you can see from these crime scene photos, which I don't know why they dumped them all, but I guess eventually they had to, and here they are, and now they've got to be standing there holding their breath, waiting for us to find the one thing that they know we're going to find eventually, and calling them out on it. Right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Contained a source of liquid. but it is unclear if this cup contained a liquid or if it was part of the setup for the beer pong game.
Yeah, you also had the guy...
Obviously, it was part of the beer pong game. What do they mean? That's what I'm talking about. They will try to convince you of things that's honestly silly.
Yeah, okay, here's another example. I have a story coming up, I think. And the prosecution is not, in this case, is not exclusive to lying. What they told in this other case was this kid allegedly raped this girl, and she was covered in the fluid, right? Well, once they got to the time when they had CODIS and DNA, they did the DNA test, and the fluid did not match the kid. So what they did is they said, oh, the girl was promiscuous. Perhaps it was from somebody else that day. And they found her with it on her. You know, like, okay, so she just walked around like that, and then somebody else, you know, so those are the lengths that they will go to. So no matter what we bring them with Brian, they'll be like, oh, this, you know, and just blow it up. So
here's something funny about the new generation of kids. Back in my day, I feel like an old man that should be in overalls on a front porch. Back in my day, the little ball everybody was touching, yep, it was getting thrown into the drinks. The germs were part of it, but apparently they do not do it that way anymore. The point is, obviously that's part of the beer.
Yeah, I don't know about
but then there is
dipping
a
it in
spatter
a
stain
dirty water glass
on the
is gonna
edge
get it that
of the
clean,
table.
really.
This is important. So it did test positive for blood, but the DNA from the stain was not identified.
April, welcome,
well,
Sandra.
That actually
Nice
was
to
part
see you.
of the
Thank you,
revision of this report, because originally she wrote that this stain was identified as being Xana's blood, stain F. And we learned that in the rebuttals that we'll see from the defense experts. Then it talks about the stain on the stairway leading from the second to the first floor. Stain D is located on the wooden ledge. They say here it
well,
is.
I mean, the thing is what do we matter? We don't matter at all. They're what matters to them is hiding what actually really happened and protecting whoever wants the protection and is paying for it. And then also to get the win. They want to get the win. So once you've brought somebody in, they're going to go and tear each other to pieces to get the win on the case. And what else was I going to say? Is that what does anybody care? The Chapins are on the World Glam Tour of the disgusting CrimeCon convention, staying at 5-star hotels, trying to push this new government DNA testing thing, and then you have the G's with a whole world of shit that they don't want the world to know about. They just want to put this guy away and get it over with and get the spotlight off it. 100%, you know. So what do we matter? We're the last thing on their mind. If you type in Idaho4 on YouTube right now, you will not find one single creator that is on the opposite side of Nancy Grace. You're going to find Nancy Grace, you're going to find News Nation, and those types of things, and that is it. We don't exist. No matter how many 15-hour shows Lana does, or I do, or AR does, and how poignant and correct we are, it's not going to show up. You know, there's no way to change that. And that's where the general public's opinions lie. They still say, oh, didn't they catch some graduate student with it and he was driving around stalking him?
A transfer blood stain. And this spot showed a DNA mix with Ethan Chapin as the primary contributor. Then they do have to add there is no physical evidence to indicate
there'll be
Ethan Chapin was ever outside
documentaries
the
about how
bedroom
great
after
author
sustaining
is.
his bloodletting
They'll
injuries.
be, you know,
but this stain
sponsored
is
by
also
author.
as the primary contributor. Then they do have to add there is no physical evidence to indicate that Ethan Chapin was ever outside of the bedroom after sustaining his bloodletting injuries. But this stain is also the only undiluted blood stain found outside Xana and Maddie's bedrooms, and that is worth noting. Then it talks about stain E, and it consists of 2 diluted spatter stains. It says stain E was not tested further.
Well, another thing that we pointed out in the last show, or JJ said, was that, okay, so first of all, you have MPD in the college. You can just consider them one. And then you have the Idaho State Police. They were involved in the investigation early on, and for the most part, stepped off and did not do anything further for whatever reason. And then you have, they're the ones who oopsie poopsie slipped up and let out pictures that weren't supposed to be released. Oopsie poopsie. Right? And, you know, Pullman is its own animal. Right there, we have about a megaton of problems over there. And whatever federal agency controlled this, maybe the FBI, it is controlling it top to bottom. It's their case, and I've always thought that, and it couldn't be more obvious now that they're just following the directives, trying to keep it going along. Brian Kober, that's his car, that's, you know, whatever, and none of it matches. So we're just supposed to gobble it up.
But that might be in the rebuttals too. But then you have all the stains on the walls. Stain 24, stain 23, stain 27. These blood spots are on the walls above that stairway to the first floor. They do say these are
I've said it before, is that if you've ever seen the 1960s movie Clockwork Orange, Stanley Kubrick, the same thing, it's so poignant, it happens. You have this thug kid arrested, you know, high profile murder, and they have a new rehabilitation system where they make them watch violent crimes and make them sick. So anytime they see anything violent, they get sick, and it's supposed to cure them. Well, obviously it had problems, and instead of telling the public that it had problems, they covered it up, and they touted this kid as their poster child, and then that got released as the new way to fight crime. So with the Othram thing, it's the same thing. They did absolutely nothing. They did absolutely nothing to solve this case, and they're taking all the credit, and they're going to use it, and they're going to do parades right down the middle of Main Street and say, we are the new future, and they will be. And the families have no problem.
The location and distribution of stain 23, 24, and 27 are consistent with a cast-off mechanism, but their physical appearance is consistent with diluted blood. Then it explains cast-off is created when blood is released as the result of a bloodied object in motion, but the appearance of the blood stain shows that it had been diluted with another liquid. But all three of those stains matched Kaylee. Well, actually was a DNA mix with Maddie as the minor contributor, or potential minor contributor, but the major component was Kaylee, which I talked about in my last video. Stain 26 is also on that half wall, and it is the same diluted cast off with Kaylee as the major component and Maddie as the minor. So there is a lot of Kaylee and Maddie's blood on the second floor. Actually, most of the blood stains found on the second floor belongs to Kaylee.
What?
Mostly Kaylee and a little bit of Maddie. Then this shows another area of staining on the half wall, and it is a second area of diluted cast-off stains with associated flow. So there was cast-off, but then it.
Are you serious? 48
then in the hallway
million?
leading to Xana's room, there were more diluted blood stains. And if you notice, looking at this picture, they're all pretty low to the ground, right? Almost like you would expect to see if someone was cleaning up bloody footprints, and the dirty water touched the walls of the baseboards. Just saying. There's a few more pages about the different blood stains that are diluted around Xana's room. Get into Xana's bedroom. It says that Xana's laying on the bedroom floor. She's wearing a pair of underwear and a long sleeve shirt and is barefoot. Ethan is lying on the bed, partially covered with a blue blanket and a pink comforter, and he can be seen wearing a pair of white socks. So they note that blood was found on the bottom of Xana's feet, which indicates that Xana was moving about and stepping into the blood after injuries had been sustained. And of course, then they say, although there is physical evidence to support that Xana was moving about within her bedroom, there is no physical evidence to indicate that she ever moved beyond this room once she was bleeding heavily. And this little part talks about Ethan. It says that no blood is visible on either the bottoms or the tops of his socks. And this observation supports that he was not moving about or dripping blood or stepping into blood after liquid blood was shed. So that is good to know, because they note that about Kaylee and Maddie too. Then there's a lot about the blood stains in Xana's room, but I don't think any of that is really that important because most of it's obvious. But on this page, they talk about the injury to Ethan's upper left leg. And it points out here that this incision was not visible in the pictures they took prior to removing the blanket. It says saturation stains are noted on the pink comforter, but then it says the blue blanket and or pink comforter was placed on top of the incision to the left leg after the incision was inflicted.
Yep, okay, so think about that. You not only have each one of them laying on the pillow, you have somebody that's cut up and they put the comforter back over them. They tuck them back in. What? First of all, in the time period allotted, that's impossible. That you're going to neatly do people 50 times. Tuck them back in and then just quietly walk out by yourself. Nope. Impossible. So it's so ridiculous, man. It's just so ridiculously staged. Man, I'm trying to picture. This is a sloppy cleanup, and I think it was her that said as time went on, the cleanup became less and less effective or whatever. Also, you have no towels in any of the bathrooms. You know, that would be the first thing. Grab some towels, soak this up before it goes through the walls, out the walls on the outside. You know what I mean? No toilet paper anywhere. You know, crazy, but are they waiting for them to walk into the house because they have a revenge plan? They have this thing live streamed. You have 300 people entering the password potato. I mean, can we ignore what we've seen and heard right before our very eyes? Can we ignore that? Should we ignore that? Should we just carry on and be like, oh, I don't have any receipts? Let's do a poll. Let's do a poll, guys. Do you think that having receipts is effective?
As I've been saying from the get-go, the killer covered them up. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
And here's the thing with Xana. Dude, she fought back long enough for there to be blood on the ground and for her to step in it. Okay? You are talking about shit cast, fingers on this, fingers on that. Shit cast all over the walls, y'all. Everywhere. On the doors, on the thing. If she got it on her feet, the killer got it on his feet. So he's going to walk, maybe not to the next room, but to the stairway and walk out the door, and there's nothing. There's nothing. And then most of Kaylee and Maddie's blood is what's found on the second floor at the base of the stairwell. Oh, you know, you're mopping up. Quick. Fling. But you have to remember, as like JJ said with the meat on black, these are the areas where a dog would piss on the wall. Stop! Murphy, stop him. He's pissing on the wall. Urine, beer, the yeast in beer is going to show up the same as blood with the amino black. This whole thing was staged.
How many people argued that point with me? Then if we flip over to this page, this got me, y'all. So it notes here that spatter stains on the walls and the shelving units. But then it says in B here, the appearance of the stains indicated by the yellow oval is consistent with diluted blood. Diluted blood is created when blood is mixed with another liquid. So then it states that the mouth and nose injuries of Xana Kernodle is noted in the autopsy are potential sources of diluted blood. She also uses this as a possible explanation for the diluted blood in the rest of the house.
Wait, what is she saying there?
We're Phoenix Energy, a family-owned oil company focused on unleashing American oil from North Dakota and Montana.
They claim to be American jobs. It's the Ferrari family from Italy, the Ferrari car. That's the family that owns that. It comes up in my feed 20 times a day. Let me hear what she said again.
In the autopsy are potential sources of diluted blood. She also uses this as a possible explanation for the diluted blood in the rest of the house. So you're telling me the liquid from Xana's nose and mouth was dripping all over the house, even though she didn't leave the room, in order to dilute all the other blood? Some of the logic put forth by the state in this case is some of the most illogical shit I've ever seen. So this is the state's conclusion, okay? They say that none of them were outside of their respective bedrooms after sustaining their injuries. The only one moving around in their room and who stood up after their injuries was Xana. So someone other than them had a source of blood on their person or in their possession and is responsible for the creation of the bloodstains in the following areas. Maddie's bedroom door, the stairway leading to the third and the second floor, the stairway leading to the second and the first floor, the diluted blood on the beer pong table, the blood on the half wall and on the wooden ledge. Then it says, the presence of the
Suzanne B, hold on, Suzanne B is the other B, the other white B is here. Oh, did you get my message? I tried to tell you I was going live. Welcome in, my dear. Welcome to the shit show. This is a humdinger of a show today, by the way.
Sample may be associated with the renumbering system. Apparently, there were a lot of mix-ups with some of the DNA samples because lead investigator Brett Payne decided to renumber all the samples. And apparently not everyone was in on this fact because as Sutton replies, she says, I was unaware of the change in the numbering system. And then the state expert replies that she was unaware of the change in the numbering system. He also challenges her on the spot on the ping pong table that she originally said belonged to Xana. The Sutton report incorrectly reported that stain F revealed the DNA of Xana Kernodle. However, no record of the stain having been tested for source DNA was located in the provided data. Y'all, there is more than one time that the state tries to label a DNA sample as belonging to one of the victims when it was never tested at all. While I understand that mistakes happen, at a certain point there are so many mistakes that you have to wonder if it's intentional. But to this, the state expert did reply that she already fixed this incorrect information about stain F, which is why we have the revised report. So that blood stain on that beer pong table was of diluted blood. And in Sutton's report, she wrote that the diluted blood is created when blood is mixed with another liquid. The mouth and nose injuries of Xana Kernodle, as noted in the autopsy report, are potential sources of diluted blood. But then Nodell corrects her, because just like with what occurred on the stain on the third floor door, the stain was also diluted through the collection process after it had been documented. The original deposit was not diluted, and therefore could not have been diluted by Xana. The dilution of this stain is an artificial remnant of sampling. Originally, that stain on that table was spatter stain. I'm actually going to use one of the other rebuttals, Appendix C, to define spatter.
Dude, this is so wild. This is so wild. Okay, so you have an unexplainable crime scene, just absolute fantasy, right? And then you have the investigators coming in and taking the samples, labeling them, and then sending them off, allegedly getting them tested with one numbering system, getting them back, changing the numbering system so everything's whacked from the beginning, and then at some point you lose all of the samples. You didn't lose them. You allegedly left the refrigerator off and now they're no good. How are they taking 50-year-old samples off of a towel and finding killers later when if you leave it out of the refrigerator it's completely degraded and lost? You know, it's Idaho math. But you know, here they're admitting that sometimes we say we sent it off for testing, but we really don't. We really don't test it. So, but with the knife sheath, take our word for it, bro, we did. And it wasn't enough for a real sample, an actual legit sample of touch DNA, which isn't even legit in itself. But take our word for it, bro. So, if you watch Audrey C. DNA, the glitch lab, she talks about how if you have a sample that's not complete, the scientist has to use a guessing game to fill in the blanks, and so this leaves ambiguity when you're using it against the father's DNA, not the actual person that it's alleged to come from. Another branch of the fuck up, we don't give a shit tree. We're gonna get this guy, and this girl's great.
Spatter stain is a blood stain resulting from an airborne blood drop created when external force is applied to liquid blood. Then Sutton reports had said the appearance of these spatters is consistent with diluted blood. The mouth and nose injuries of Xana Kernodle is noted in the autopsy report of potential sources of diluted blood. These spatter stains originated from an impact to a source of exposed blood located approximately 3 feet 7 inches above the floor, as indicated by the scale. But the defense expert's response to that was this pattern of diluted blood is consistent in color and appearance to the diluted blood seen on the half wall in adjacent areas. Without source testing, this spatter cannot be assigned as originating from Xana. Obviously. Nor can it be associated with Xana's injuries without DNA testing. And Sutton's response, the state's responses kill me sometimes. She said, the pattern of diluted blood may indeed have been created by the same source as the diluted blood seen on the half wall in adjacent areas. As is stated in my original report, though, the mouth and nose injuries of Xana Kernodle should also be considered. How would the mouth and nose injuries of Xana Kernodle, who she is insisting never left her bedroom, how could that have diluted all the blood in this house? It makes no logical sense. This is frustrating to me. Sutton does then clarify.
Roxy girl, where's my camera? Let me turn this on. Let's take a little break from all this madness here real quick. And I want to see if you can just... Hold on, let me see if I can get this cord. This is a really long cord. It'll reach the door. But anyway, let me... if I can get over there. I have to get these stupid headphones on. Sorry. Okay, let's see here. Hang on. Yeah. Damn, it's wrapped around all this shit. It goes like 50 different ways. Hold on. Okay. Let's take that out. Bump. Check out this wind right now, dude. It's honestly blowing like I've never seen. I don't know. It was better, but you had to be here. Anyway, it was definitely wild. It's wild. So yeah, we may get snow flurries in the morning. I just wanted to take a little fiber real quick and show you that. And we're ready for it. I gotta get to work here pretty soon. They've called me in. There goes my mouse. Like 6 times already. And I'm like ignoring it so I can chill with you guys because you know what? I am the Kane Bee. And you guys are here and you appreciate it, and I appreciate that you're here. I know there's other probably lives going on right now, but they don't matter, do they? Because we're together. Oh no. That might be the end of the show. Oh shit! Yep, that's the end of the show. Holy crap. I just spilled my 64 ounce on the fucking floor. Hold on. I gotta get a towel. Now I got fucking sock feet. Wet sock feet. Oh my god. That happened. Yep. Okay, what's this one? Nope. Here we go. Nope. Shit. Crap. Okay, I got it. Stop hitting it down. Holy shit. I'm just ignore that happened. Hold on. Real quick. Shit. Woo! Dang it. I know Heather is laughing her ass off right now. I had to show you guys the win, right? That was so important. Okay. Anyway, we're back. Don't sweat it now. Literally 44 ounces on the floor. Just happened. But it's okay. Blue stuff everywhere. It is a literal crime scene in here. I'm okay. It's the second time it's happened in here. And it's partial reason why this place is clean. Alright, serenity now. Let's get back. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Yeah, I must have hit it with the something, kicked it over. I didn't realize it, and it dropped off of the thing. We're okay. It's ready now. Oh, I don't have the mouse still. Yeah, we'll shut it down. That's it. Thanks, rage quit. Okay, here we go. Over here. Somewhere here. Now I can at least see this. The thing that drives me crazy about this place, and I will address it sooner or later, is that the floor. is super, super, super hard. So anything that hits it, it's not only loud, but breaks apart into 50,000 different pieces. And it happens, you know, if you drop a pencil, it literally sounds like World War II. And it drives me kind of crazy. But what am I, a billionaire? I'm going to fix it? So, you know, I'll do this floor, and I'll get the Pergo or whatever, and it'll be nice, and I'll put rugs over it. Okay. Anyway, this one literally is double what we've watched. She had some great stuff there. I wanted to do a little time on that. Mittens for kittens, welcome in. And we got Rowie here today. Amazing. Suzanne B. Damn it. Alright, let's keep going. I still have a ton more shit, and we're at the time 15 more minutes, guys, at least. And we're gonna run right through it. Look at, I only have like 50 more tabs to go. Let's keep going. Thank God for Swiffer.
It's absolutely true.
When politicians, community leaders, and some journalists engage in that heated rhetoric we keep talking about, when they make the choice to vilify law enforcement, calling law enforcement names like Gestapo, or using the term kidnapping, that is a choice that is made. There are actions and consequences that come from those choices.
They intentionally use inflammatory rhetoric in order to make people more radical. It's absolutely true.
When politicians, community leaders, and some journalists engage in that heated rhetoric.
I just watched a video a minute ago that was the Chinese are putting out propaganda videos, and they say if you are American has a flag in front of your house, don't watch this video. If you're part of the revolution and you see somebody that has an American flag in front of their house, they are going to be your enemy. So they're trying to promote the revolution, and it's just like so pathetic. It's really sad. Anyway, they're really trying to incite something. We're way too intertwined to have something stupid like that. Yeah, so here the families are mad. Local authorities are speaking out following the accidental release of graphic crime scenes. Nothing is done by accident. Nothing is done by accident. And every time there's something that will draw attention to what corruption is happening here, they release something else on the opposite spectrum that'll distract people from it. And so people just don't pay attention to it anymore for the most part. We're here for whatever reasons. Jeez, dude. 5 years later, 3 years later, how many years? 2022, it's 26, 4 years almost later. They owe me. And in making the redactions, the Idaho State Police also chose to follow Judge Marshall's permanent injunction, which required the city of Moscow to redact areas of photographs depicting any portions of the body. And so apparently Ms. Potts has actual pictures with bodies in them and this kind of thing. So I haven't seen them. I haven't necessarily wanted to. I like the analysis that people are doing here of this stuff.
Yes, numerous Reddit threads and user accounts indicate that Adderall can cause anger, irritability, and aggression, with some users calling it Matterall. This reaction is frequently described as a side effect of the medication crashing, wearing off, or from taking a dose that is too high, leading to overstimulation. Here is a breakdown of the experiences shared on Reddit. Common reasons for Adderall rage: the crash, rebound effect. Many users report becoming raging monsters or mean in the evening when their medication wears off. Too high a dose. Increased irritability is a classic sign of an improper, usually too high dose. Overfocus, tunnel vision. Because Adderall helps with focus, users may become deeply locked into tasks, causing them to lash out with anger if interrupted. Physical factors. Inadequate food intake, appetite suppression, and dehydration can cause irritability to turn into rage. Experiences reported by users. There is a reason they call it Matterall. It really does not suit some people. It turned him into a rage monster, and he didn't want to hear it because he felt great. I've been rude to people I love and I hate it, so I try to keep it to myself. This definitely sounds like behavior with highly extreme levels of amphetamine.
Very prevalent in the area and in the house. A lot of use of it. So they were getting it from someone, probably, right? If not a doctor. It doesn't seem that they had a prescription for it. So where you were getting it? Other people in the area doing it, birds of a feather, right? Matterall.
Ready or not, here I come now. Let's play hide and seek.
Sorry, a little loud there.
Here I come now. Let's play hide and seek.
Yeah, right. I don't think that. I don't think Dylan was drinking at all. I really don't. Her connections to these people and that school. Dylan belongs to the streets. I said it earlier. That she's a thug life. Period. That's who she is. JJ was pointing out that at least Bethany seems well spoken and educated, but Dylan, complete opposite, does not even appear as a college student, and it seems that maybe whatever connections that they're alleging she has are either elaborated or completely false and made up, which, surprise,
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Hopefully good. Good. Happy, healthy, smiling, hugging, all that good stuff. I figured I'd send out some, or do a few videos on the people that are no longer here with us and their families and friends. And I'm going to start with Jason Christopher Gray. So I'm doing this because I think it needs to be done, but also because, well, it needs to be done because there needs to be awareness of how many students are perishing from there. And he's not actually from there. And he's still just from being there and going to school. Now, when I first read this the very first time, I don't think it mentioned how he perished. So let's reread it, or I'll reread it. Let me clear up my glasses first. Won't be able to see crap. Okay. Jason Christopher Gray, May 10th, 1999 to July 10th, 2023, 24 years old. So Jason was in the same fraternity as Caden Young, Saeed, Lake Campbell, the frat boys that were running across the field. Ooh, excuse me. Steve G. He was in the same one. Let me see if I can think of anybody else. I'll get it out there if I think about it. So, Jason Christopher Gray of Cincinnati, Ohio, and formerly of Moscow, died Monday, July 10th, 2023, at his home. He was 24. Now, this is making my stomach turn, you guys, because, oh man, you can probably hear my stomach. It's
I can literally hear your stomach.
Right now is what it just now dawned on me. It just now dawned on me, and I'm just like, oh my god. I believe that night they were hazing those freshman kids, freshman frats, right? Hence, wherever they were, what they were doing, and now, whatever, the whole shoot shebang. I mean, it's known for that time of year. It's every year, it's that time of year that they do it, and it's the major one. It's the last one before they get told, if they, whatever they do, however they go about that sequence. But it's the major, it's a big deal. It's a big one, and it's a ruthless one. It's the one that's the most difficult and demeaning and, you know, reckless and just deadly. So Jason would have been a senior, and so I don't know why this just flashed in my head. And I'm not saying he did anything at all. I'm not saying he's got any part in this, and I was going to say except, but But those guys are the ones that actually haze, you know, the younger ones.
You got DoorDash?
So if this was something to do with that, and maybe he saw something, maybe, you know, he's a sensitive guy, and it just took him down whatever he saw, or possibly knew and didn't say anything, like most everybody else on that campus. But, and the reason I'm saying that now is because I did run across another post, another article on him, and his family did say he self-exited. So he took his own life, from what they said, at his home back in Cincinnati. And so he left Moscow to do that. Now, if that doesn't make you think a little bit,
wow.
I don't know what will.
Wow.
Seriously, I don't know what will.
Wow.
All the things we know about this case.
Holy shit.
So Jason graduated from Moscow High School in 2017. He worked his way through college, and after transferring back to the University of Idaho, was set to graduate in December of 2023 with a dual degree in criminology and psychology. He had applied to the police academy in Cincinnati, Ohio, where he was residing, and was scheduled to start training in July. Jason loved fast cars, cooking YouTube recipes, UNC Go Tar Heels, don't know what that means, but March Madness, animals, and children. Oh my God. He was a loyal friend, brother, and son. Jason had many gifts. Accepting Jesus as his Savior was his greatest. We are grateful to be able to rest the fact that he's resting in him. His heart was softer, and his love was deeper than this life could contain. Oh my God.
Think about wild shit, right?
Jason and Keto snoozing and cuddling.
Well, you never know what somebody had going on, though, but right?
Jason Christopher Gray Endowment Fund.
So it sounds like right after the crimes, from what I'm understanding, am I right, that he took his own life right after the crimes, went back to Cincinnati to do it? Shit. Man, I might have to leave the rest for part 3 here, guys. We're going to do a part 3 here when JJ
We're
comes
back now
back.
with journalist Howard Blum talking about Brian Kohlberger and why Howard believes now, having seen the crime scene photos and done some other investigation, that Brian Kohlberger may have had an accomplice.
Says a lot about you,
and more than that Brian Kohlberger may have been the accomplice to someone else. Now, Howard, one of the most interesting things that you raise in your piece,
this fucking douchebag allegedly is, kids go to bed, writes a fucking book of pure imagination, agrees with the official narrative 100%, knowing at the time it's bullshit, prints this book like it's the Quran or the whatever, it's the encyclopedia of the case, and then the pictures come out, and he's got the balls not only to show his face, but he's like, oh well, maybe there wasn't there was somebody else, but my book could get him convicted. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to admit necessarily that I was wrong, but no, that with new details now, he's got.
Positing this possibility is you harken back to the moment Kohlberger was taken into custody, and one of the few public statements that he made on the record about this case, and the very first question he asked the investigators when he was arrested.
Yes. On the night of Kohlberger's arrest in his parents' house in Pennsylvania, he's put up in zip ties. His parents and one of his
there goes
sisters
that
are put in
rant.
zip
Sorry, I was
ties by the police. He's taken out to a state
muted
trooper's
again.
car. He's sitting
Yeah,
put
I
in
mean,
the back seat, and the first thing he says to the state trooper,
I swear I muted myself. He has the balls to come out here and act like he knows what the fuck he's talking about. His book was complete fucking fiction, and it helped get Brian convicted. Now he's trying to say, you know, with the stalking and all that shit, you know, he made the book rely as much as he could on the lives of the victims. But he had to put in details about what Kohlberger did, allegedly, and he just took free liberty, and now he's going to come back and sit here and say, well, with no details, here we go, he said this when he got arrested, so maybe there was a second, relying on these crime scene photos, I'm just going to write another book and give you more bullshit.
was anyone else arrested?
What a piece of freaking trash garbage. And this isn't the first case that he's had, and he gets on this See You Next Tuesday show, and here you go, mainstream media at it again, baby, right in your face. No shame in the game, Lucy. Damn it.
The little goose, he home.
Oh shit, I forgot about this part. Wait, damn it. This is Wiskowski, isn't it? Shit, the whole little opening segment here. Where does it start? Damn it. Hopefully I won't take away the chat replay.
Here comes now.
I welcome both.
So this odd character just seems to pop out of nowhere like he's going to Walmart at about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Who is this?
We're going to take a look. So in just a few seconds, we're going to see a car pull up on King Street. Here it comes now.
Yeah, he's not ever going to get it right. It's always going to be to sway the narrative.
It sucks that this footage doesn't have audio.
Yeah, there's definitely parts in different versions of the
car
clips that they took the audio out of, for sure.
We're going to see another vehicle, and here it comes now. It seems to be pulling in and parking, and you can see its headlights right there at the top right corner of the screen. Alright, that other person just dropped off those passengers. It's leaving now. Okay, so the car that just pulled onto the edge of the street has now put on their emergency lights. What's odd about this car is it'll sit there. It'll sit there for about a minute.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
This is 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, at one point it was 15 times.
This vehicle is pulled up, emergency lights on. What I think is happening here is this vehicle is pulled up and it lets a passenger out. Our mystery man. He gets out. Before he gets out, I think he's talking to the driver. Either he's giving the driver some more directions, or the driver's giving him directions. I think he's got his phone in his hands, because you can see a little bitty glow. Walks across the street. What's weird is that he doesn't just walk up Queen Street. He cuts through these people's parking lot and their driveway. He activates the corner porch light or patio light, whatever you want to call it. And right there at 1 o'clock, 2 minutes and 14 seconds, he begins rounding this house, 1118 King Road. He spends a whole minute rounding this house. Just out of nowhere. Don't know where he came from. Don't know if he even lives in here. But if he lived at 1118 and he was just checking out the house, don't you think whoever dropped him off would have pulled all the way up to the house? It's just odd. It's odd behavior, especially considering that it's 1 in the morning. This vehicle, to me, this is not the vehicle that dropped him off. This is the vehicle. So, as he's rounding the house, there's a whole separate vehicle that turns into the neighborhood and turns on Queen Street and just keeps driving. And just as it passes the view of the 1112 camera, just as the car passes the view, a few seconds later, we'll see this mystery man appear at the left corner side of the screen, which is just really odd. And this is him walking back where he got dropped off. I'm assuming the emergency lights are no longer on. This is the vehicle that dropped him off. And maybe he was spending too much time, maybe more time than the driver wanted, and he got impatient, and so the driver started coming up to the house or finding a good place to park. But this looks like an SUV to me. I don't know about you guys. I spent a lot of time just pausing and playing, trying to get a decent look at it, because the visuals from this doorbell camera are not great. I'm sure you guys have noticed the visuals are not great at all. And then you throw in the fact that there's suddenly no audio for this footage. It just, it just continues to throw me off, and I'm probably not the only one that is thrown off by this. What's really odd about this situation is this guy walks as if he's not even paying attention. I believe he's been on his phone this whole time in communication with someone. He's not even paying attention to the fact that the person who just dropped him off is like pulling up. The driver finally gets his attention, like, hey motherfucker, hey, it's me. And for whatever reason, the passenger doesn't get back in the vehicle right there. He tells him, let me walk back down here to the entrance, and you can pull around and pick me up down here. Is it because they knew that the doorbell camera was there on the house? Because what other way? This is lazy. This is a display of the laziness. I'm not saying that this person is responsible, even though I'm saying that this person could very well be responsible for the tragedies that occurred that night. The first thing I looked for on this person was, is he wearing shorts? I can't really tell if he's wearing shorts or pants. Because we see at the 1320 Linda Lane camera around 5 in the morning, there are two perpetrators that I feel like are involved. Based upon the links that they're going to dodge the cameras, the visuals are just so messed up. Right here though, I feel like I can tell that he's wearing a beanie on his head. He's got something on his head. Right there. Like right there, especially right there.
That's fine.
I can tell he's got something on his head. It's a toboggan or a beanie. Maybe a Carhartt jacket. A heavy jacket.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Right here. You're fine.
If he got all that on, he probably doesn't have shorts on. He's probably got pants on. But it's obvious that he's looking down at his phone. That's what's really giving me the creeps. It's like, who are you talking to, bruh? And what are you doing right now? At 1 a.m, of all places you could be, why are you making laps around strangers' houses? Did you know about the camera? Because for me, it's like, if you knew about the camera, couldn't you have parked down at the Whites and taken the cut through? He looks kind of heavy set too. Or at least not skinny. Like, his build does not look skinny to me. He looks heavy set. Clearly you can see something in his phone. It's in his hand, and I believe it's a phone.
Oh, that's what happened. It hit my phone cord. Damn.
Something else I noticed too in this footage is when he comes back into view on the bottom left corner of the screen, as he's walking past the door to 1118 King Road, he kind of does a take through the door or through the window or something. He turns his head slightly to the left to see if anyone noticed or if anyone's paying attention. That tells me that he does not live there.
I like watching these other people's takes. If you watched the reaction that I had to this, you remember that I showed that somebody's hand came out that window, handed him something, and he walked away, and then he did a take looking in on the last window, and it looked like there was somebody looking out. He kind of paused and kept walking. I thought that was just an interesting take. I like to look at other people's kind of views of it. Maybe one or two more here. I really got to get going. Thanks for being here. There we go. I'm going to stop right there, actually, and I want to thank everybody for being here. If you were asking if you should go back, there's a lot of good stuff in here. We have a part 3 coming up Monday with JJ, so I'll look forward to seeing you there. Try to do it around, I don't know, same time. I was late today, Suzanne. I tried to take a little nap at about 2 o'clock, and I woke up at 3:45. And that's the way it went. But I'll save the rest of these tabs. We'll do the part 3 for Suzanne then. And I want to thank everybody. Hope you stay warm tonight. And love each and every one of you. Keep rocking. Take love.